Yes. Hello, camera Mandy.
Hello.
I am the Wizard of Flu. Yes, because
Ha! That's funny.
I have had, as you know, for the last 3 days, quite a. I didn't get the con crud though. You know,
Well, you probably did get the con cred because I got the con cred, and then slowly the office.
You
took
think
a
it got passed around? So it really was the office crud, but the con crud was
the instigator.
the instigator. You could be right.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but
So we can blame Donnie and Andrea about this.
Always,
I'll
I
push
think.
my camera up just a little bit, camera Mandy, because I got
high quality entertainment here. I like that you have like 2 ring lights behind you, or no,
Yeah,
ring light.
who needs a ring light? Look, I'm even still pale from being sick.
I have a ring light on
No,
right
not
now.
that I'm not most. You have a ring light on? I can put a ring light, but the problem is they are not warm lights. And Ms. Goo says I should wear makeup because of my baggy eyes.
Mine is warm. So they have these ones that you can change the color temperature on. Alphinius just popped off. What the heck? Okay, well, I guess it's just me for a second here. So I am going to take a second. Oh, there he is. There he is. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh, my heart.
I just wanted to log in so I could look at the chat. I
Oh my gosh.
And it kicked me out of the stream.
I was almost about to have to vamp for time, and we know how that all goes. So, okay.
Anyway, to all of you dear people, if there's anybody there, because now, can I rant? I really want to rant.
No,
just for a moment before we bring
everyone's
on
heard the rant.
No, because I'm going to have to come up with some new thing, because basically what Facebook is doing, I'm sure this is their strategy, is they want us to pay money to advertise to all our friends to come to the stream. That's what they want us to do, because I am now limited to inviting only 50 people. 50 out of 3,000. It is outrageous. And the thing is, all of our wonderful community does so much to help bring people to Facebook.
It's true. I know at least one person who's only on Facebook for Gooey Cube.
I know more than one. In fact, can I speak the truth, camera?
You speak the truth. You speak the truth to your power.
I never looked at my Kim Facebook ever. Ever.
Okay. I would like to start the show off with something very special.
What? Oh, do it. Yes, I bought it.
I know. So did I. So I wanted to show, though. So we picked up.
Do you have Namastacy's portrait? Do you have Hoodie's portrait?
I don't. I have our portraits that are in the Sand of Fate.
This is why we are a low-budget production.
I'm talking about Sands of Fate right now. So
I know, but that's where you can show Namastacy and Geeky Hoodie and all the, anyway.
Okay, let me just start off. Okay, so we picked these up at Genghis Khan. So our dear friend Stacy, who is a marvelous GM and GMs for Gooey Cube at multiple conventions and just
incredibly talented,
genuinely spectacular, produced a campaign set in 5th edition, but it's like a totally, like, I think it's post-apocalyptic, like deserty, very like different type of 5e campaign.
No water.
So, but what's really cool is that both Alphinius and I got our portraits done for the campaign, and I was going to show those off. So here is Violetta Laurentia, which is a name of all my nieces and nephews on my side of the family, all combined. And then and I'll actually show the actual portraits in just a second. And then here is Kim.
He's not a good guy, from what I understand. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're a little evil, and I like that. So let me actually show the.
So it's kind of like Kirk. It's kind of like Kirk in that an evil Spock. When they remember. Camera Mandy, you're kind of hot right here,
Don't like that you just said that.
Oh, camera Mandy, good job.
Anyway, so this is done by Derek Stevens, who is a marvelous artist that is around the community. And there's Kim, who's a little bit evil. Got pipe smoke going. Anyway, all this to say, though, is that Stacy, I mean, really, the product is quite phenomenal. Like, everything's laid out really well. And I know she has like a lot of really interesting ideas in this book. And Geeky and Stacy just finished their second Kickstarter, which is going to be a Alice in Wonderland twisted 5e campaign. So I'm just throwing it out there to keep an eye on. It's called Moongate.
Moongate Exploration.
Exploration. Yeah, sorry. Moongate Exploration Co. I was like, that's not quite right. But anyway, they're doing some really interesting stuff and they're amazing people inside our community. So that's how I wanted to
And
start
Cameron
the
Mandy,
stream.
we all, and y'all know this, right? People in our community, we try to support them. I'm always backing Kickstarters and doing various things and trying to subscribe to things and trying to spread the wealth, as they say. So
Mhm.
it's a good thing.
No, I love our community. I love like the creativity that comes to it. I love the fact that we've managed to connect certain groups of people. Like Geeky, for instance, is now working with Stacy, but he also has a podcast with Rob called the Monk and Maid Show.
Yeah,
And so I
those
love
two
that.
nerds.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there's other people who have really made friends through our community, and it's just something that's very special and dear to my heart.
I mean, man,
So,
you just Genghis Khan. I mean, there's so many gooey people, and it's so. I mean, it's such a joy. I mean, to be there with our friends and all that stuff. And so, should I say this? I think we're going to do something different. We're not going to do the Gooey Game Show next year at Genghis Khan. We
we
better not.
already talked about that last
Did we
week.
talk about it? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I know you've been sick. Cough.
The Wizard of Flu.
The Wizard of Flu. Yes. Anyway, okay, we're gonna do some quick social media, and then we're gonna bring Todd on, and
Hi,
we're
Todd.
gonna have.
I know you're
Yeah,
watching. You're backstage.
we're
Haha.
gonna have Terrain Talks number 6 about using scale to really set the scene
Yeah,
and
this is going to
epicness.
be a great topic. But
Yes.
let's do social media and then we'll do it.
Yes, it's gonna be quick though, I promise.
Are you going to show? I know you're going to show the Temple of whatever.
Yes,
evil.
I did grab the Temple of Existential Evil.
No, it's not existential. It can't be. I'm totally pissed about.
That's right. Somebody else already did.
No, listen. Here's the deal. I love Hackmaster. They were the original funny people. Anyway, we'll talk about it when we get there. But
Okay,
yeah,
sounds good. Okay. Anyway, I liked this picture.
Fabulous.
David sent this to me even in like a message. But you got your dragon over here, and then your dragon over here, and it's almost to scale.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Anyway, I just thought that was fun.
That's a heck of a build.
I'm just saying, were you ever into Lego?
I still like Legos. In fact,
not Legos. That is not how it's. Lego is the plural of Lego. Sorry, I had to drop that on you.
I like Legos a lot. Legos are very cool. And I am a creative person, so if I want to call them Legos, I can. So, anyway,
it's just not elevated.
But now that Theo and Natalia are starting to get to the Lego age, Theo's been building Legos, so it's really fun to watch. As all of this stuff. But what a magnificent thing, that it turned into. From what it was when I was just a kid.
I agree. They've done a good job. Okay, next up is Michelle's little hatter Priscilla the dragon. And I just thought the hat was super cute.
Adorable, the hat notwithstanding, Camera Mendy.
The hat is adorable. It looks like she might have made the hat, which is even extra special.
Well, Michelle is very crafty.
So, okay, next up, this is a gooey haul from Miss Pamela Willers from Genghis Khan. And I just thought I'd show off some of the cool stuff that you can get at Genghis Khan, including Sons of Fate from Miss Namaste. Next up, okay, here's where you can go ahead and rant.
Okay, I'm not going to rant because I'm excited about this, but and I'm going to give props because it's so weird because I normally Google everything, because the advertising business, right? In the advertising business, you're always nervous. But
Michelle says that the hat, just to clarify, was from the vendor.
Ah, very
That's cute.
So the hat came originally that's a cute hat.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, I like that she hand makes hats for her.
And the wire,
wires.
Yeah, the wires there. That's really good work.
I'm just saying. So anyway.
Not that I'd wear it.
I would.
Well, of course you would.
I did decide to wear a beanie today. Now, Lawrence is in the chat. And Lawrence, this is very important. I need a Gooey Cube beanie. So I was thinking that this morning. I need one before Gary Con. So snap. Sorry.
Well, there we go.
We'll see.
Hi, Lawrence.
Okay. Sorry. Let's go back to what you're excited about over this way.
All
okay.
Right. So
this is, by the way, a very intriguing image. So
yeah, I know. It's really good. Benjo did this one really, really good. And so of course, for a long time, Luke and I had great hopes that the first Guys and Gags Kickstarter would have success. and I always discussed the sequel to it, which we're going to have a special page up for GaryCon, where if you pre-register on that page and then ultimately back this sequel Kickstarter, you'll get a very special gift, which we think is going to be a full family portrait of the Geisengax family, signed by Luke, and perhaps by others, but right now for sure signed by Luke. And that will include Gerald as the ghost in the family portrait. And so we're going to actually put it with a frame around it and really make it look interesting.
A digital frame.
A digital frame, yes.
Sorry, can't afford the physical frames for
yes. Well,
5,000
people frame their own. People frame their own the way they want them.
You'd get like a 20-cent frame, 10-cent frame. Anyway,
I think it'll be very, very special because it really is the only time that we've had the Geisengax family right all together, and so you'll have a chance to get that. And anyway, so I came up with this title quite a long time ago because I thought it was hilarious, right? We're doing a little lampoony with all of this stuff, right? So the Temple of Existential Evil, right? And anybody in the chat who thinks they know what existential, why that's funny and why
this is from Harry.
Lamentable evil. So anyway, I think we're going to have a contest.
You're going to do a contest? Okay.
I think we're going to do a contest, and it's going to happen starting at GaryCon, and it will finish. And we're going to give everybody a chance to
name our Kickstarter.
Listen, no, they're going to name the temple. We're going to come up with a name for the temple. Now, in my mind, it needs to start with an E and end with an L. Okay, so that AJ has come up with a ton of pretty fun ones. But even still, even if we do a contest, and even if we have come up with it beforehand already, we're still going to whoever comes up with it, and even if it's multiple coming up with the same one, we're going to give some kind of a reward to those folks and thank them for the fun. Essential evil. Yes,
you already have some
great
entries.
But existential was really, really funny, right? It was really, really funny. And what I loved about it, right, was the lampooniness of it. Of course, I didn't Google it, and I thought I did. I still swear that I thought I did this. So I'll answer that question. Keep that up for a second, cameraman. I'll answer that question in a minute. So I thought it was really hilarious, and it had so much possibilities. And of course, the marvelous people at Kenzer and Company, and Hackmaster is the ultimate lampoon, right? Is the ultimate parody of all these TTRPGs, and really some wonderful stuff. I own quite a bit of Hackmaster's Kenzer and Company's Hackmaster stuff, and they did it 22 years ago, and so they did the Temple of Existential Evil, and it really made me frustrated. I was like, you dirtbags, right? But then I got to give them credit, right? Because it's so funny. It's so funny and fun and really had tremendous potential. Anyway, good news is I am convinced we'll come up with another wonderful name, and it's still going to be sort of the way we have it planned, with the characters going into the village of Blun and having all kinds of creepy things happen there, and then ultimately having to travel to Lawrence. This is all of Lawrence's goofiness.
The Temple of Minor Inconveniences. That actually sounds. I would play that.
The Temple of Minor Inconveniences.
Yeah, anyway. That's a woman's worst nightmare. We had stuff to do.
All right, so
okay.
So here's the thing about the Kickstarter. So as most of you know, we're sorting out, Lawrence is working very, very hard right now to try to sort out this tariff situation. And we are ready to send off quite a number of the PDFs to print. But we're not, the only thing we've got to finish here, we got to finish the environs. And then a couple of things we're probably printing in the US. But if the big numbers that we really need to print elsewhere, because it's just too expensive. Even with the tariffs, it's going to be too expensive. And so, and we didn't plan on the tariffs. So Lawrence is working really hard to identify where we're going to do this. And we're soon to send off the first round of printing. So our plan is that we will not start the Kickstarter until we have begun shipping the previous Kickstarter materials. There are many new people who have never worked with us before, and we don't want anyone to feel like they are not going to get their stuff, that they're not going to get their things, and we want We want them to have those things. So until we begin shipping, that is when we're going to do that. Now, my best guess is probably, and Lawrence is in the chat, so he can do this, but my best guess is June, July. That's when we'll start shipping. And so that probably means that in that time frame, we will also start this Kickstarter. So, and I can't tell you, I'm stoked for it. I mean, it's in the Temple of Elemental Evil, which this will lampoon a little bit, right, and have a little fun and give a nod to that marvelous module that Gary wrote. This will have the Four Lords of Corruption, which I think is magnificent, and it will bring a whole lot of fun and interest and little Easter eggs, same as we did with Guys and Gags to honor Gary. And we think it's going to be wonderful. Obviously, you can tell from the artwork that, and this isn't even the finished art, Camera Mandy. This is the almost finished art.
I love it. I think it's very dark but fun. Like, it looks like a place you could have a good adventure in. So
yeah, I think
she states the obvious. So
well, anyway. And of course, it's got the Thule there right in the front, right, and this really creepy looking. And Benjo did just such a great job with this, and I know he was excited to do it. He and I wrote back and forth, and he just took it and ran with it.
I'm just gonna say this dude looks a little uptight. So
what about what's her face with her freaking Vomacles all sticking out?
I like this. This dude looks like no fun. So anyway.
Well, they are two of the antagonists that you will meet in there, to be sure, but there may be others.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and finish up everything. Perils and Fortunes is now available as a free digital download. So if you have the decks of Perilous Fortuity and you're sitting with this deck of cards and you're like, what do I do with this? We do have a number of card games up on our website, and we're about to add Dragonbane 21 and Dragonbane 31, which are both blackjack type games.
Basically based on blackjack.
Yeah. But we also have now a card-based RPG that you can print off on your home printer with all these great maps and things to walk you through how to play it. 6 pre-generated characters and an instruction manual. So we basically have like the base sets of things you need to play. And then we have 2 scenarios up to play through. So if you are interested in trying something new with your deck of Perilous Fortuity, you can play this solo or you can play it with a group of friends. So,
and listen, if you don't have a deck of Perilous Fortuity, you should get one or 2.
Get 2. Get 2 because like almost every single game that you play with the deck of Perilous Fortuity, you need 2 sets of cards for. Yeah. So
that was not a strategy, by the way. It just worked out.
It just happened. It just happened to be what it's going to be. But for Perils and Fortunes, you need 1 because you have like basically a game master deck that's called the Encounter deck, and then you need 1 per player. So you need at least 2 to play if you're playing solo, 3 if you're playing with 2 people. However, we do have a rule in there that you can use the same deck if you're playing between 2 players.
And it's fun. It's a fun little game. And Corey, of course, worked on this, and Mandy, you as well. But the 2 of you did such a marvelous job.
And Matt wrote Dark Tide's Night. So there's a nice longer scenario that you can play through with 5 different encounters. That's very fun. So anyway, this is available for free on the website. We are looking, because Patrick asked, we're looking at printing a package that can be purchased with all the materials included, but we have to do an assessment on that before we move forward. So
anyway, point being that here's the deal. We love the deck of Perilous Fortuity, and virtually any card game that exists in the world that is played on the deck of 52 cards can be played with the deck of Perilous Fortuity.
Yes.
The only difference is, in your mind, is you just don't count aces as aces anymore. Just make them nubs and let them live as the one that they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are a couple more face cards, yes. But it's pretty close.
I mean, you just have to take out a few cards to use it as a regular deck.
If you really just play it as a straight up deck, you would. You just take out the jesters and the fool card. You take out the 2 of the face cards, and you just run as it would be normally. So you could even do that, but I wouldn't do that. I'd play Rummy with the full deck.
Do you want to give out some cards for this episode? We could do a giveaway at the end.
Next week.
Okay, for next week.
Next
So,
week we will.
just so you know, next week, Gooey Ead is going to actually be running the stream because I will be on my way to Wisconsin while this is going on.
My name is Jan Janssen.
Jan Janssen?
Why will you be on your way to? Oh, that's right, because you're going early.
Yeah, because my in-laws live in Wisconsin, so I'm going a few days
And
early.
Ead has never done this before, so I hope
I
it goes
know.
really well.
We'll see. Yeah, it'll be fun. We have a blast.
I don't know if it'll be fun.
Okay, let's finish up so that way we can get to Todd.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, this is just funny. This just made me laugh. It's a gooey bear.
Yes, this is the gummy bear that dissolves your mouth.
Yeah.
It doesn't dissolve in your mouth; it dissolves your mouth.
Okay, I'm just gonna put this out there. Have you ever read the reviews for the sugar-free gummy bears? Do you know what sugar-free gummy bears do to you?
Oh no.
Okay, if you I mean, I don't know if it's still this way, but years ago there was this trend where you just go read these sugar-free gummy bear reviews because it dissolves a lot of people's insides. People use them as laxatives. I'm not kidding you. If you go look at Amazon and look at the reviews for the sugar-free gummy bears, there are some of the most hysterically written reviews.
Yeah.
I am just putting it out there. I used to go look and just read them, and they would just make me laugh. People are so clever
Yeah.
in the way that they describe this.
Well,
anyway. Yeah. Anyway, everyone's. Oh, so the Chet says the reviews are awesome. Look for the reviews. Read out loud on YouTube. So yeah, it's like YouTube sugarless gummy bear reviews, and people will go through and read them out loud. So anyway, it's a thing. It's like a thing. Anyway.
Hey, listen, before we jump to Todd, I do want to ask a favor.
What's that?
So, my friends, I do, because people need to be reminded of things. So this is our life, right? And this is why advertising works, and this is why marketing works, and all that stuff. I might need a little help to help us. We're going to start promoting the stream, but I might ask you to just every once in a while, just as you think about it, because of the Facebook debacle, if you would share, with a friend or two and say, hey, don't forget, hang out with me on Goo Morning or something like that. I do think it's a fun stream, and I think you all make it very, very fun.
I mean, we talk about things like what sugar-free gummy bears do to your insides. I mean, it does not get any better than that. We have Flarp.
We have Flarp. Eat my Flarp, Drew Barrymore.
Okay. Last thing. Actually, I have one more thing after this, I think. Okay, so if you are going to Gen Con and you don't want to run games because you're not really a game master, but you like things like organizing and keeping people on task and like just helping out and being a helping hand. We're looking for a couple more EOs, which stands for event organizers, to join our team and basically help us. What we do is we make sure that this game room that runs hundreds of games over the weekend runs smoothly. So we make sure game masters have what they need at their tables. We make sure they have their pre-generated characters, their modules. We help with any issues that arise, with any of the players. It's very rare that happens, but we just make sure that our game masters are taken care of. And we have this whole back end desk area that we try and keep organized throughout the weekend so we can be a well-oiled
We also
machine.
don't make you work the entire convention, and you get a little compensation for doing so, and you get to hang out with the coolest, gooeyest people in the history of the world. Yes,
it is true. It is true. So Adam's actually working on becoming an EO, and I would say he's very fun. And
Adam is awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, but EOing is a great way to make a little extra cash at the con. I believe it's $50 per 4-hour shift, and you'd have like 3 or 4 or 5 of those, depending on how much you want to work throughout the weekend. So
there's just a minimum, and we just ask you to please be on time, be there, because everybody counts on our people showing up.
Absolutely.
That's the important thing.
So I'm just putting that out there. If you're someone,
free food, there's free food in you get little extra bonuses on top of the little compensation that you get as well. So
yes, little snacks that you can eat while you're at the convention. Oh, but if you do want a game master for us, you can also.
I think somebody snuck booze into the room.
No, that has never happened. We purchased a bar to go to Gen Con.
Okay.
Don't say stuff like that live on live streams. That did not happen, Gen Con. So
I didn't know. I didn't know how people got booze. I didn't know we had a bar in there.
Yeah, we have we
should have bought some booze.
Yeah, we pay for a bar, and we'll be paying for a bar for Goo Done It because it's better when people drink. Anyway, that's not true. People really enjoy it even if they're not drinking. Okay, all that to say, if you are also happen to be there for game mastering, if you're interested in game mastering, send an email to gooeygames@gooeycube.com. We're still like ramping up a bunch of game masters. So yeah, so gooeygames@gooeycube.com. I'll put that in the chat if you're interested in EOing or running games for us. Okay. Oh my gosh. This is longer than I thought it was going to be. Sorry, Todd. Sorry, Todd in the background. Okay, very quickly, there's a new cosplay channel on our Discord. So if you're interested in cosplaying, there's a great group of people gathered there to talk all things costumes and cosplaying and all that good stuff. Okay, this is the last thing. Alan has been posting these great stat blocks for various things in the Gooey Cube community on Facebook. And it's hard. It's sometimes easy to miss because he needs to like put like an image with something. It's easy to miss because there's not an image there.
They get hid. They get hid sometimes.
Yeah,
these are really cute.
But I mean, they're so much fun. And so this thing is for the thrushroot, which is a winged rodent that hunts snails. And so there's a bunch of things
my favorites.
Anyway, I just want to make sure that if you see these, check them out. They're really funny, and there's some good thought put into them. So, okay.
Mandy, maybe what we should do, because I do think there's reticence, and I think this is wise, actually. And I think, there's reticence for people to download any kind of PDFs or things like that from social media. Maybe what we could do, because we could ask our team to take those kinds of things and put them back up. So that people are not, post them as posts so that people are not afraid to download them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Could we mention that to Lawrence and Ead and maybe see what they might do about it?
I think Lawrence is in the chat. So
Lawrence, that'd be something we might want to think about, because that way we protect people from their concerns, because the thrush as example is really funny, right? Reminded me a little bit of the Avismus, which is a winged mouse that swarms you. It's kind of like Willard. If anybody remembers Willard.
I don't know what Willard is.
Wow, Camera Mandy. Classic B movie of the 1970s.
Oh, yeah. I was totally alive back then. And
all right, does anybody in the chat remember Willard? So Willard was like, he was obsessed with rats, and he had lots of rats in his house, and he began to get more and more rats. And then he used his rats. He used to sick them on people, and they would eat them.
Actually, this is kind of sounding familiar now that you're saying that.
It was terrible, but it was good. Just that one. And Michelle put. Did you see? You didn't show it in the social media. Michelle put up this damn post for some damn B movie that's about a giant turd that runs around and kills people.
I did not see that, and I'm grateful for that.
Yes,
my algorithm was like, no, Mandy does not want to see that giant turd.
All right. So Todd has also been putting in the back chat. He's been putting up little titles of the temple as well. Hello.
Hello. How we doing?
Much love, my friend. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Sorry you're under the weather. I was there myself the other weekend. So.
Oh, my friend. It was bad 3 days, but I'm getting better. I'm on the mend.
Oh, that's good. I'm throwing mine into the fray for the name Temple of Economical Evil. Serious crime, reasonably priced.
I just want to show really quickly. I just want to show what Todd has done for me.
Yeah,
Todd has put together a PDF of exactly what needs to happen during this episode. And Todd, I just want to say I appreciate you so much for the organization that you bring to this stream. So.
And I appreciate that there's no chance in hell we're going to follow that.
Hey. I'm going to do my best. But I just want to say, Todd, every time we have you on the stream, it's such a pleasure. And I thank you so much for the work that you put in. And I just want to, I know I just spoiled everyone. Hopefully they didn't read it. But I just want everyone to see the work that Todd puts in to make this stream elevated.
What do you mean you hope nobody read it? You put it up there for like 30 seconds. Nobody's reading that in 30 seconds.
You don't know. There could be someone with a photographic memory.
Now listen, then happy days to the
screenshots are for.
So
that's how screenshots work.
So listen, Todd is a dear friend, and we made friends quite a long time ago. And Todd runs a magnificent Facebook page called Creative Adventure Tables. And I'm going to let him talk more about himself. But Todd, it is, is such a pleasure. And I'm glad you're done with your crazy day job. So you have a little more room to actually play and enjoy your life now for a time. So
thank you.
But Todd, go ahead and talk about your Facebook page a little bit, because if you haven't joined it, you should join it. I go there regularly. Marvelous builds by all kinds of people. I've even submitted a couple builds, haven't I, Todd?
Yes, you have, and they have been featured, I might add, because they are always marvelous.
Thank you, sir.
So, Creative Adventure Tables is a group dedicated to using tabletop terrain in order to help tell the stories of whatever role-playing game system you're doing. It could be Pathfinder, could be 5e, could be Old School Essentials, Shadow Dark. That's irrelevant. We don't care. We could be playing Warhammer 40K. That doesn't matter to us. And also doesn't matter to us where you get your terrain from. You could be a crafter like Black Magic Craft. You could 3D print stuff because there's all kinds of Patreons or whatever that you can download 3D print files and print all kinds of cool stuff out from. Or you could buy at retail. I know Dwarven Forge is a fantastic sponsor of Gooey Cube, and I have put some of Stefan's children through college with the Dwarven Forge.
You and me both, sir.
So there's no shortage of anything there. I'm not sure if Stefan ever needed blood, whether or not my blood type might match his at this point. I don't know, but be that as it may, where we get trained doesn't matter. The only question that really the Facebook group is focused on is how do you use that terrain to help make your stories more immersive and enjoyable while you're running the game. And it could be as little or as much terrain as you want. It's not about building bigger and better than everybody else. It's about what solutions do you see other people are doing that you look at and you go, you know what, I could do something like that at my table. And you never know when a solution that you come up with that you think is a nothing burger, there could be 10, 20, 50, 100 people that go, oh my God, I was having that same exact problem last week or last month or upcoming session. And you could solve a problem and help somebody else with whatever it is that you've come up with. So that's what the Facebook group is about. We're just sitting just shy of about 49,000 members right now. We're always growing. We usually pack on about 100 to 120 members a week. A little slow last week because I was out with the flu and I couldn't post or anything like that. But so probably within the next couple of months or a few months or so, we should be cresting about 50,000. The last time I looked, we're within the top 10 Facebook groups regarding Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop role-playing games. More importantly than the numbers, though, real quick, last thing I want to say about it is the friendliness of it. Just think Gooey Cube, but with 49,000 people. It's that kind of, even though we only have 2 admins, myself and Haley Otten are the only 2 admins we have, you'll never see a flame war. You'll never see people making rude comments or anything like that. It's very polite. It's very supportive. Everybody's in a very positive frame of mind. And that's because I flick them like a booger the moment people start causing problems unnecessarily. We just don't tolerate it. We're about having fun. We're about helping each other. And so the community, part of what I think keeps the community growing is that we don't tolerate any of that kind of behavior. It's all good people, all fun times, and incredibly creative people. When it started, it was just my posts. Now I make up maybe a 0.1% of the posts there because there's just a constant stream of people putting their tables up. So that's a little bit about my group. You want to talk about the topic today?
Yeah.
But I do want to say I agree with you. And part of this, Todd, in my mind, and I don't know this to be true, but I have said it many times, that the geek community, the nerd community, whatever you want to call us, the gamer community, is just filled with a lot of very decent people.
Yes.
And I think really a lot of that comes from having been, when we were kids, maybe not always getting the best treatment from others. And for a lot of us, that makes us more empathetic to others.
That was supposed to end when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I still
you remember that? You remember those days?
You mean yesterday? Yes, I remember.
Todd, give me some names and I'll go beat them up. So, yeah, I'm not afraid. Okay. Well, yeah, let's talk about using skill to help create epic feeling adventures.
Okay, so I pull a lot of my ideas from all kinds of different places. And one of the places I pull my ideas from is video games, because I always used to love, I still do play video games. And Alphinius, I remember you told me you did back in the day play World of Warcraft, correct?
Yes. Not only, sir, not only did I play World of Warcraft, I achieved the High Warlord status, which
Wow.
required you to be ridiculously, it was OCD.
Yeah.
It was definitely
OCD
OCD.
squared. OCD squared, because I know you had to fight to keep it too. It was an
Yes.
unbelievable, yeah. So you spent a lot of time with a bucket under your chair. I understand. Okay.
This is how we ended up with Gooey Cube. No.
I believe it.
It was the eventual progression.
I
So
believe
yes.
it. So if you remember back in the day, what was the main difference between your regular 5-man dungeons, and obviously besides the number of players, and your 40-man raids? It was the scale of the monsters that you fought. In the 5-man dungeons, the gnolls and the goblins or whatever were roughly the same size as your avatar on the screen. But when you went to Molten Core, everything was like 40 feet tall and just had this instant epic feel to it, right? And that's because size creates emotional drama. It just does. And it does the same exact thing in the table. Now, on the screen right now, cameraman is showing, that's an example of like a storm giant that I had on one of the adventures that I ran. So yes, one of the difference was stress level, absolutely, but most of the stress back in the day was the 45 minutes that it took to get the 40 people together to do the raid. But that's a different story. So,
Yeah.
That's a whole different story. My 3 favorite video games were the original Neverwinter Nights, Skyrim, and World of Warcraft. So I'm just answering from Haunted there.
Yes.
So on the screen, you can see this was a Storm Giant adventure that I did. And you can just look at the 4 minis in the foreground, who are the players, and you look at the Storm Giant that's sitting there in front of them and the scale of it. And you already know as a player, okay, this thing's going to have way more hit points than I have. But when you see the scale difference of it, it just makes both an emotional and a strategic difference. Like, wow, he's going to cover ground a lot faster than me. I am not going to be able to run away my 30 feet, so to speak, because this guy's going to keep pace with me easily just because of the size of his steps, right? He's going to be able to step on me as an attack. He's just going to be able to use a sword and swing it across this way. And it could basically be an arc area of attack effect. Basically, because of the size of the blade, he could probably cover like 15 feet in front of him with a swinging arc. The scale of the minis, and if you look behind him, I don't know if you can tell in the picture or not, you see that throne that's behind him?
Yes.
So that throne is actually, I repainted it. That's actually something from the Marvel universe. I can't remember where I saw it on eBay someplace. But because it's got those cool little skulls, I was like, man, if I paint that up with like a bluish and white colors, that'll make like any kind of like a frost giant or a storm giant throne or something. It's kind of
that isn't Skeletor's throne.
It's it's basically that. So any big bad guy, right? You threw that on there. But that first picture is just an example of a storm giant. Let me go, camera Mandy, if you go to 1B, the next picture, please. Here's another again of the storm giant. And where I put on, and so one of the things I say is like, well, what do storm giants use to make their castles and stuff up in the sky? Well, they've got air and they've got water. Well, they could freeze that water and create castles of floating ice, basically in the clouds, right? And they've got air. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? So I got them a big air elemental pet to have to fight alongside with them. But again, if you just look at the scale, not that the air elemental has a kneecap, but if he had a kneecap, that's basically where the head of the player characters comes up at. And that, if you saw that, if you came to the house and you sit down and all of a sudden I set those down, what is your emotional response when you realize that's what you're fighting or that's what you see? And it's not just, you know what I mean, like a little coin or whatever. I'm like, okay, this is
the F word. Oh,
exactly.
So
yeah, and that's exactly it. And anytime, this is just a personal opinion, but anytime I can get my players to go, I hate you, I know I'm doing something right. Okay, because it really means they're having a great time. They're scared crapless, right? And their sphincters
are. Todd, I've said this before. I at my table, literally, I had Larry, who is Mandy's father, throw his dice at me and say, "You're an asshole, dude. You're an asshole." I knew I was winning.
Right. That's when you know you're getting somewhere, because they wouldn't say that if they weren't 100% emotionally engaged.
Absolutely.
That is the reality of that. I've probably heard you more than I've heard Todd. Okay. So along with, would somebody take his dice away from him? Those are usually the two main comments that I get when I'm running things. So let me go to 1C if you could. Here we've got a cloud giant. In this adventure that I was running, the short version of the adventure was that there was a beholder. We know they're super intelligent and they can levitate. Well, this particular beholder decided that the absolute perfect layer would be a cloud giant's castle. So he just levitated up to it, used the shrink ray on the cloud giants and whatnot. And then the players had to go up and basically find the shrunken cloud giants, demagic them, so they came back, and then the cloud giants helped them fight the beholder. So the cloud giants was actually on their side because the beholder was too tough for just the players alone. So it's not just that, these gigantic things could be an enemy that you fight. You could also use them as an unexpected ally. And by the way, the players had no idea what was going on. They just knew they were going up to a cloud giant's castle. And then they find out through the course of going through the rooms that, wait a minute, the cloud giants have been taken over. There's a beholder in here, and that's really what we're finding. That's where your story takes a left, and they're not expecting it, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then we're actually going to help the cloud giants, and they're going to reward us afterwards. So there's just an example. And again, the beholders themselves are pretty large, and you can see the size of the cloud giant towering it over. And if you go to 2A, I just want to show you, we touched on this earlier, even without the monsters, what I did was I went on to eBay and Etsy and Amazon and do a search for dollhouse furniture, 1/12 scale dollhouse furniture. And you can see that giant chair that's in the foreground. That was the first thing that the players got to see that made them realize, oh crap, there are giants up in this floating castle. There's, you know what I mean? So we have to be extremely careful of what's going on here. And if I could just get you to 2B real quick. So there's another room, and of course you can see like a cabinet, and you've got tables and chairs and there's all this other kind of stuff. The scale of the furniture, it's not just the emotional impact, it suddenly becomes tactical, because now you could jump up on top of the table, right, and use it as an elevated area to fight from. Or you could run underneath the chest or any of those things there. And if they were fighting the giant in that particular one, it's basically cover, because it'd be swinging from the top down, and now they'd have cover. So having the furniture, and again, you could get this on eBay, Etsy, Amazon, any of those places. Just do a search for dollhouse furniture, 1/12 scale. You get it relatively cheap. There's all kinds of used stuff. Just pick it up. Mostly look for wooden stuff, but there's other things that I could show you later that you get. And it helps bring it to life. He's not like, he's a giant and he has no furniture and he has nothing. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, it feels like this is a place where a creature really lives, and I'm in his home, and he's not going to be happy about it. It helps get that story going that much more. Mm-hmm. And then additionally, you can see the monsters I have in front of it. Like I've got a small air elemental, and I've got, I can't remember what it's called, but it's that lizard creature that breathes lightning. Behir. So those are pets that I had for right. That again, oh crap, these are like we have dogs.
Come here, little Spotty. Come here, little Spotty.
They've got it. So for a storm giant, there'd be no problem having a Behir. Who cares if it breathes lightning? That's something that that doesn't bother them at all. So that's something you can do. Go to 2C if you would.
Yeah.
All right. So here's one that's a little bit more fleshed out. And this story was, the players told me they wanted to make a cloak of invisibility. And so I was like, okay, so what are material components you're going to need is you're going to need clouds that were weaved into silk on a cloud giant's loom. That sounds reasonable, right? As the cloth that you would use. So that means you've got to make it up to the cloud giant's castle, and then you've either got to steal the loom or get them to do it for you or whatever it is. So again, I tried to create, and you can see there's different types of furniture that I have there. I've got a bird cage in the upper left-hand corner, if you can see that golden cage there. And you can see the loom that's immediately to the left in the picture of the cloud giant lady that's right there. All those things, when the players come and look at it, I can't tell you the look of wonder that was on their face, because they never would expect it. And each of these things is like a couple of dollars. You know what I'm saying? If you find it on eBay, there's people selling the stuff for like $2, $3, $5 for some of this stuff. And once you buy it, of course, you can use it over and over again for whatever giants you use. So it's a way of, because you can put the mini down and it's going to look fantastic. But on top of that, if you can flesh it out and create, it's the clutter that you put around that basically makes the difference. Is it an orc barrack? Is it a wizard tower? Is it a giant's lair? If you can put furniture that's the same scale or roughly the same scales as the giants themselves, you're just going to create that feeling of wonder and awe and exploration. Because then the players are going to want to like open up those drawers and they're going to be climbing in them almost like your cat does. You know what I'm saying? Looking for stuff. And then what happens when the cloud giant comes walking into the room? Do you like slam yourself and you're hiding inside of the drawer itself? You know what I mean? While your players are scurrying around under the furniture or places like that, or hiding behind the mirror or things. So it just creates having that furniture right there. And of course, you don't have to do it, but it's relatively it's not nearly as expensive as you think it would be if you just go to places like Etsy and Amazon and Etsy and eBay especially. You'll find it used really cheap.
I have a question from the chat.
Sure.
So are there any ideas for how you could do this like scaled back for someone who's like Kobu2 says that they're running RPG sessions in a bar? So how could you bring scale to something where you're playing and don't have access to like these materials?
So the thing is, the Dwarven Forge that it's all sitting on looks awesome, but you could also play what they call ultimate dungeon terrain style, which is you have minimal walls and stuff. So instead of building out all the walls, you could, if you look at the furniture, you could literally fit that in like a little small Walmart bag or you know what I mean, a CVS bag, and just lay it out. And you're in the room, and this is what you see, and that would fit on a bar table. If you look at that space, and of course I can't reach and touch the screen as I'm intuitively wanting to do, but if you look at that space from the door to the giant is maybe 2 feet. You see what I'm saying? It's not taking up as much space as you feel, but the fact that it looks like this huge area tells me that what's being done on the table is working. It means it feels huge to you.
You can put it in a shoebox.
Correct.
Bring
you
a
could
shoebox.
fit it all in a shoebox. You could fit it all in a CVS bag. And again, I'm not talking about the tiles. I'm talking about the scatter terrain, like the door and the stools and the loom or whatever other items that you get. You could fit that in a shoebox and bring it and just lay it out. And you can just say, oh, the edge is over here. That's where the edge of the room is. And they're not going to care. You don't have to build all that part out. So you could absolutely do this on the go without any problems whatsoever. In fact, the cheapest part of all of this is the scale items that you can get. The Dwarven Forge, as Alphinius and I both know, is where your money is actually going to go if you're building all that kind of stuff out. Let me do one more thing with the furniture. If you go to 2E for me, please. This is just another separate room here. So here you can see I found what did Cloud Giants do? I found a 1/12 scale chess set that's elevated. Right, so that if you can see that right in the center of the screen, so that they play chess. And you might say, oh, that's a cool scenery. You know what? That might end up being part of the game where you end up playing a game of chess against the cloud giant in order to determine whether or not he thinks you're worthy to talk to. Because
or whether he's going to eat you for dinner, sir.
Correct. Instead of answering a riddle, play a speed game of chess or something against him, right? It's going to be done in 5 minutes or something like that, but the players get to decide. So, and of course I have a giant eagle there because he's not going to have a normal sized eagle, right? And he's got the more pristine couches and stuff. You can actually see on the right-hand side, just to the right of the door, a wood burning stove that I found, right? For cooking or whatever it is that he's got. So these little things that you can find. There's also a big lantern that you can see immediately to the right of the leftmost chair. You can see a large lantern that's there, right, for lighted spaces or stuff. So you can find all kinds of interesting things, and you don't need to fill the entire room. 90% of that room is empty. You just need some accent pieces that are going to cost you maybe $10 that will have that same exact effect. Here's my door, here's a couple of chairs, and here's a gizmo that's sitting in the center. That's what, 4 pieces. And you can really flesh out a room quickly and easily for maybe $20 or so. So well within reach. So that's giants. There's another thing of scale. Let's talk about gods. Let's go to that's I'm sorry. So that's another one there too. And there's just so you can see a treasure chest that I found. There's a bed that's there. There's a full length mirror. You could see some Japanese walls or whatever it is. You know, those I don't know what they're called, but they're little foldable, I don't know, rice paper walls that they have with the artwork on the left hand side, right? More like exotic artwork. You can find there's that table and chair, and you see there's a small globe that's sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
You can find stuff that people would just never, ever imagine you're going to have. And I guarantee you all of it makes everybody lean forward and just be more interested and immersed in your game as you're telling the story, because the world is unfolding before them, and it's all very economically feasible as long as you skip past the Dwarven Forge part of it. Okay.
Right. Gods.
So
yeah.
gods are another thing. Now, there's no reason you can't physically take a regular mini and put it next to the other minis and say, that's the god. There's Zeus, there's Thor, that's whoever. But it's not going to have the same emotional impact as if you have yourself one of these big guys, right? There's a few different sources for minis for gods. You can get them from WizKids, and these are the two that I'm showing right here. The ones that the Zeus and Aphrodite, that's what I call them. I use them for in this thing basically. You can get them from there, and you're gonna spend maybe $30 to $50 or so for some of these guys, right? But there's also a not cheaper place that you can get minis. If you can go to the next, if you can go to 3B, I think it is. That's it. Perfect. So that right there is actually from that's a World of Warcraft action figure.
Ah, nice.
And you can pick them up for like $10 to $20. You could pick them up easily for half the price of a WizKids mini. And the best part is they're action figures, so sometimes you can move parts of them around depending on the mini, or, depending on one of the things. This one here is literally nothing more than a World of Warcraft high-level priest action figure. But you know what? Standing in front of a 2-story building with players coming around, that made a pretty good deity, a goddess of healing that I brought down after one of the adventures. That's from an actual game that I ran. They had completed the adventure, and there was a priest in the game that was basically trying to re-incur the favor of the deity because they'd lost it through some blasphemy and some bad spell rolls and whatnot. And she gave him this epic task in order to get back on. And when he did it, she not only reinstated the good favor, but she came back down and she gave everybody a blessing. Well, nobody, of course, is expecting to see a deity show up on their table, right? But for $12, I'm able to pop something like that down. And is that player more emotionally attuned to their goddess going forward, having met them in the game in that kind of experience? Absolutely.
That's awesome. And I like that you're offering unique ideas for going and getting like action figures for World of Warcraft, which some people are probably just offloading, or, like the little pieces. Like you could probably buy a bag of like furniture, off eBay.
You can buy a bag of furniture easy, and you can buy these guys on eBay. Just go literally look for either WoW action figures or World of Warcraft action figures on eBay. You'll get tons of them. You don't need to buy all of them. You just need to buy the ones and they make a perfect thing for the end of the campaign. The deity shows up or whatever it is. And if you're going to do those where it's a starting point for the next campaign or whatever it is, then that makes the perfect thing that says, oh, our deity sent us off on this, high level mission or whatever. Go to, if you could, 3C. And here's some more action figures from World of Warcraft just to give you some ideas.
Oh, wow.
So the one on the left is nothing more than a Durini mage. But the fact that it's a female Durini, I think it's Durini mage, that makes an absolutely perfect like goddess of magic, right? She's got this exotic look to her, right? And she's, beautiful, and she's got this weird colored, bluish skin and these purplish robes and whatnot. You want a goddess of magic? $10, $15, whatever it is. The guy in the foreground, it's a little hard to, but that was the original Paladin epic armor. If you remember that, way back in vanilla WoW.
Excuse me, Todd, I have to interrupt you. Thank you for your facetiousness, Sir Harry.
Yeah,
right,
I have
apologies, Todd.
That's okay. I have more than I show here, but I'm trying to hide my OCD for social virtuing. Okay, that's what we're doing here. So, but if you needed a god of justice, you grab the Paladin one from World of Warcraft action figures, that guy that's the gold and black there in the foreground with the big Warhammer or whatever it is, he's set. If you're fighting the lizard, not the lizard folk people, the snake people, Yuan-Ti, right? I think her name is Lady Valsheth or something like that. She's this big snake lady. She's got 4 arms. She's got big snake for hairs. She is a perfect goddess for you to summon at the temple, or has been summoned, and you have to banish her or something like that. And again, they come with swords and their arms move a little bit. In the next right in front of her, there's a dwarf. That'd be a great dwarven god of war, right? He's all armored up in his black armor and stuff. So Grummish, which is the orc god, right? Again, $10, $15, $20, whatever it is. That's the one the one to the far right there is again, it's just an orc shaman player. It's an orc shaman action figure from it. But I mean, if you needed Grummish, the god of war, to show up on the battlefield, or if your player happens to play orcs before they were banned by WotC or one of those crazy things, they're easy to pick up. There are tons. I've got maybe like 20 different of these models that you certainly don't need that. You just need whichever one you want to introduce in your campaign, and it's relatively cheap and easy.
I do agree that this would have an emotional impact, like as a player. Like
absolutely.
I definitely think this would, be a wow moment of like, oh, okay. So, I mean, you can describe it. This is why we believe in art. You can describe it. And someone who's really good at description could get across everything that you're trying to get across here. But I think for your average person, like a visual like this would be
an emotional reward. It's an emotional reward, especially if the players worked to earn it and then it shows up unexpectedly. So like the deity telepathically tells their, the priest through their prayer time or whatever it is, I need you to do this big thing. And that's the arc of the quest. And finally they are completed, and the deity themselves comes down to reward the players or to help them at some crucial moment, or something like that. That player, you're going to take religion far more seriously in the campaign, right, when it shows up viscerally like this in the experience.
Let us be clear, Todd. In the world of Zyathé, this Grumsh is so 1988. So this is Duranok. Duranok is the war color. Yes.
Okay. I agree.
Patron of the Arachnoid races, yes, as well as the barbarians, right? Many of the barbarian tribes of other races, right?
Absolutely.
And again, in Zyathé, and I do love this, right? Is we are very much not deity specific, right? So multiple deities can be represented as revered by certain peoples, right? And certain peoples within those peoples could revere very different deities, because obviously there are marvelously wonderful, honorable, good Arachnoids and really terribly evil humans, right? So this is what we tried to do with Zyathé, rather than just eliminating orcs, because we love orcs, right? We thought that making sure that it was clear that even though the evil races made peoples just like the good races did, the evil creations had many turn to good, and the good creations had many turn to evil, right? So this makes it much more realistic, like the world. But I love these. I mean, and how many do you really have, Todd? Tell the truth.
I probably got a good 20 from World of Warcraft, I probably got at least 20 of them.
Okay, you need to work on this, because as Harry noted, you need to have 72.
That's true. Flip back for just 1 second to that same picture. I just want to add one thing.
Don't be overhanging the market.
I know, it's 10:59. So
okay, so real quick, I'm going to burn through. So one thing I want to say is, you don't have to keep them as is. You can throw a coat of paint on them. You could throw war paint on the orc guy if you wanted. You could paint up the Durini mage to be different colors. So if you want to specify and change these, you don't have to accept them the way that they are when they show up. You're more than welcome to customize them for your campaign to be just like Zyathé, by color coding them the way that matches into your campaign. So I just want to throw that out there. No. So real quick, next we're going to go to legendary monsters. In this case,
Todd, do not rush.
You don't have to rush. We go over all the time.
Folks will leave, but this is magnificent. I'm enjoying myself.
We will have the recording up on YouTube forever for anyone who wants to catch it. So don't worry. Yeah.
So I bookended a campaign where the players got to fight a Teresk. The evil bad guys who were squashed or whatever it is. The remaining ones basically summoned a Teresk by beseeching their god of evil to summon a Teresk to just go trouncing through the castle. And the players were there. They were receiving honors from the king. And so in front of the king and all the townspeople, they had to fight the Turesk. So it's the ultimate and epic of a campaign is not only do you defeat the big bad guy, but you do it right in front of the king and saving all the townspeople. Well, hopefully you do it, or they all die and they die cursing your name. Either one, depends on how it, depends on the dice roll. But if you look real closely at that picture, there's a mini sitting on top of that Turesk's head in between the horns. Because one of the players literally made his strength and dex checks and climbed up the back of the Turesk. Can you see him?
Legolas.
You see the fighter on there? Yeah. So it adds a tactical thing. There were other guys that were running along the walls and jumping onto the side and climbing up and stabbing it and trying to stab it in the eyes and all kinds of things that you're trying to do. So having these giant sized, and now instead of gods, we're talking about legendary monsters. Okay. So the cool thing is, like, you can get a Turesk. Again, this is from WizKids. However, you don't need a Turesk mini. There's a couple of companies that make them. Go get a T-Rex mini. Get it from, I think, Schleilock, I think is the name, or Schleilo. I can't remember. It's a German company. And then there's Safari Limited and Papo, P-A-P-O. You go onto eBay and Etsy and do a search for them. So do, S-C-H-L-E-I-C-H. or Safari Ltd. or Papo, P-A-P-O. Do search for any of those, and then space dinosaurs, and you're going to get all kinds of dinosaurs, and you could change it in any one of those. A T-Rex can easily stand in for a Turesk, and your players are going to be extremely happy, okay? Or any of the other dinosaurs that are out there that you can do. If you switch to 4B, please.
Yes. Sorry, we had a fun question from the chat.
Sure.
What always bothered me about that big nasty, animals have spikes on their back, usually as protection against predators. What the heck is hunting the darn Turesk? So,
over exuberant players that climb up the back can try and stab.
I would say dragons. I would say that there's the possibility of dragons, but here's so people did ask that about like the Ursa-Un, right? Mm-hmm. How come it had spikes? And I said, well, there are dragons that exist in the world. But I do kind of agree. These damn spikes on the Turesk, I agree. That must be a pretty big thing going to have it for dinner.
That's you know what? And that can actually be used as I didn't in my game, but all you have to do is have a Turesk roll over on its back, and anybody in the way is going to have some serious problem, right? That's the kind of unexpected attack that the players will be like, oh, okay, we're on this side of him. He just starts to roll over, and all of a sudden you got to save versus crushing damage or something. Mm-hmm. So here's an actual picture from the game itself where it's attacking. You can see all the townsfolk at its feet. You can still see the player sitting on the NPC. You can see where he really ran through the castle walls. So I would pull the castle wall out and put rubble in between to have the effect that this thing is literally destroying castle walls. And it's another way of showing what the scale is, that this thing can literally just run through and destroy whole things that would normally stop an army. And this is what you're fighting. Physically seeing it, yes, you can describe it. You say he crushes the castle wall and blah, blah, blah. It's another thing entirely to physically see the wall get crushed, especially if he's crushing through the first wall and you're standing on the second wall that he's running towards. Right? All of a sudden, you're like, this strategy is not good. So it's just another way of showing scale. Believe me, everyone is totally engaged. You can see half the players are standing up, pointing. What are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? It's just very emotionally engaging when you have these kind of creatures that are on there. And there's more than just the Turesk and dinosaurs. They also make mystical creatures you can find. I've got one that I don't have a picture of it here. I apologize. But it's kind of like a shadow lion. It's like a black lion, but it's got a spiked club tail on it, and it almost looks like a giant lion that Hades, the god of the underworld, would have, right? But there's all these mystical creatures that they have. So just search for those names, Pabo Toys, Safari Limited Toys, and you're just going to see all kinds of stuff. And just scrolling through it, you might go, oh my God, this thing for $10, this thing for $15 would be the ultimate monster that they would never expect. And then you homebrew some stats to it if you want, and they have no idea what they're up against, and you just create the most epic session for a few dollars. You know what I mean? It's pretty easy.
I had one of my favorite sessions I ever played. I can't remember what the first thing we fought was, but it was like a smaller, we were in water, and he threw like a smaller creature, but like that was really powerful at us. You remember what that was, Adam? I don't know if Adam's listening to me. But then after we fought that one, he threw the big bat
Adam, you're
at
so
us.
rude.
I know. Do you remember that game with Zach where we were playing and he had us fight two monsters that he threw the smaller monster at us and we barely managed to defeat that. And then we went up against the giant turtle thing. Do you remember that? Oh, yeah. What was the first thing that we fought? Adam's not doing anything. He's not helpful at all. Anyway, all that to say, I loved the idea that he threw one thing at us that we barely like managed to get by. And then suddenly we were faced with a giant second monster. And so it was like a 2-layer scaled thing. And like, I still think about that to this day, how we managed to get out of that situation.
Right.
So
it stimulates the emotional center of the brain when you get to see it. It just does. People say, and I'm free to have, I'm completely open to different opinions, but people always say, you know, well, the book was better than the movie. Maybe, but I noticed the movie sold a lot more tickets, right? The movie's the one that makes it, because people love the visual immersion if they have the opportunity to do it. And you don't have to have super high-end special effects. Again, you can buy a T-Rex dinosaur from one of those guys for 10 to 15 bucks, right? 20, 22 bucks for, and they look really good. I'm not talking, you know, some crappy thing that looks like, I mean, it's a highly detailed model of a T-Rex or any of the other monsters that you would be proud to put on your table. They're like, man, this is going to be a perfect stand-in.
right.
And there's all kinds of other legendary monsters, but I wanted to try and somewhat limit the frame. So last thing I'm going to go to that everybody thinks about is, of course, dragons. So here I just want to show you a scale thing. That tiny little mini in the front is a human wizard. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm trying to show you scale. Now the dragon that's closest to him to the right, that if you look very closely, actually has 2 heads. Right? It's a 2-headed dragon. Again, something your players are not going to expect. Okay. That is not a WizKids mini. That is not an official, that's not a Reaper or anything like that. That's, again, I think that's from Schleilock, or it might be from Safari Limited. And they have a bunch of different dragons. And again, you get them for 10 to 20 bucks. They're not, and you only ever need to buy one of them, right?
Yeah, also many of them come fully assembled, right?
Correct. So, yeah, they come totally assembled. You literally just pull it out of the box and use it, unless you want to repaint it later as a different color. Okay, this is a red one. This is you know what I'm saying? You don't even have to repaint it. Your players are going to be fine with it, but you can always repaint these things. And then for scale, I'm just showing you there's a brass dragon, there's a green dragon, and I've got an adult red that's sitting there, just to give you the idea of the scale. Now, that if you just looked at the first dragon in the lower right-hand corner, that 2-headed one, that's still already towering 3-4 times higher than the size of the character, right? And if you look, you see his mouth is open. That's a thing that you can use. He grabs you and he chomps on it. You can stick the mini in the mouth of the dragon, and he's stuck there chewing it, shaking his head, blah 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 blah. And the person, you know what I'm saying, and the player's taking X amount of damage or whatever it is, and that creates a whole set of new emergency emotions. Oh my God, we got to get this thing out of its maw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
I still like swallowing mechanics.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's just some of the scale. Now, if you go to the next one, 5B.
Yes.
That's Tiamat. I know you have that one, Alphinius, right?
I do.
No, we don't have it. We've bought 2 of them and we've given them both away.
I think I have one sitting on my shelf, my dear.
Oh, do you? Oh.
So that's Tiamat. That again is a WizKids one. I think that thing's like $400 or something close to that.
It's really expensive.
Yeah, it's really expensive. I'm not saying but I'm just showing
the quality of it is gorgeous. Like genuinely, like every time we get it, whenever we buy them for giveaways, I mean, it's heavy and it feels epic when you're holding it.
Oh,
so
absolutely. And it's just, now I haven't used this on my players yet, but I have, when we play in my living room, I have a top shelf that's up like that, and all of my dragons are lined up across that top, along with the Teresk. So, and then they walk in, they always check to see if Tiamat's missing from the top shelf. And I tell them it's only a ladder away. I can take it at any time. So let's take, if we could, 5C. I just want to show you them in use real quick. So here they went to a wizard. They took a ship to a reclusive wizard in order to get some knowledge from them. But the wizard asked them for a slight favor. And the slight favor was, in the wizard's research throughout his years, he pissed off an adult red dragon And he would like the players to take care of the adult red dragon, and then he would give the MacGuffin, basically, that the players were after as the reward to them. And of course, the creature comes flying in, and the players had to deal with it. So you can see the scale of the ship. That's a 4-story tower that they're dealing with, and the size of the dragon almost doubles the size of the tower that they're dealing with. If you go to the very last one, I think, the last screen, you can see there's the dragon in front of the tower, and you can put, I do flying by, I have transparent stands that I can put them on so it simulates the dragon itself is in flight. It just gives you that ship in scale is 135 feet if you count the squares on it, and look at the size of that dragon next to the ship. It's literally, the ship is big and the dragon matches the scale of the ship. So it gives an oh shit moment when the players see it's coming. And the ship is made out of wood, which as you can see is not faring too well against the fire. So the players have to go, if the dragon knows if he burns the ship, we're trapped on the island, and the dragon can fly away and come back whenever he wants and finishes us off. So it's part of keep the dragon away from the ship if it's possible, or keep it from burning down while defeating the dragon. It becomes a whole strategy thing. The fact that he's that large, he could fly anywhere. You saw before where he landed on the roof and he's fighting them. Once he can only fly so far, he's lands on the roof, and the players are fighting him manually. So those are just some of the ways that you can get it. Again, you don't have to go the traditional route. I have a lot of WizKid stuff, and it's great, but a lot of it's expensive. The dragons and stuff are especially expensive. There's alternatives that you can get this stuff really dirt cheap from online, from eBay and Etsy, and you don't have to have the whole setup. Just having a few of the main pieces is, I guarantee you, will grab your players' attention, and they'll be really excited, and they'll thank you. They'll be like, man, thanks. I mean, this was a great adventure. I was never expecting anything like this. And it's something that you'll be able to use over and over again throughout history. All you got to do is just change the colors on it if you want, at most. And again, you could turn that into a black dragon, a green dragon, or whatever color dragon you want. Players are not going to mind.
Yeah. You have a question from the chat.
Sure.
Is the tower Dwarven Forge? The
tower is not. Now, the Dwarven Forge makes fantastic castles, and I highly recommend them. But at the time, WizKids sent me 2 towers for free, and I stacked them on top of one another. So for the cost of $0, I went with the tower from WizKids. But if you're looking at the quality as far as if you want to build whole castles, Dwarven Forge is absolutely the way to go. The towers from WizKids are, I think they're like $1.99 or so, with the decimal point after the 9s. Okay, but I think one's like $1.75 and one's $1.99 or something. But they're compatible. You can mount them one on top of the other, and you can open it up, and there are rooms inside. You can make the floors inside with stairs going down, and it's big enough that it's a playable area space inside. Not super big, but it's big enough. I think it's like maybe 40 square feet or so that you could mess around inside of those.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on, thrift stores, for instance, if you go to the toy section, I mean, I know that there are kids who, they're done playing with stuff like this. We have a dinosaur named Alb that Adam's had since he was a little kid. I'm sure you could get something like that for $2 at a thrift store, and you could build your story around what you're able to find for cheap, if you're looking to save money budget-wise. And I love your idea of going to eBay and picking up used items. I think it's a great way to recycle and to
absolutely
reuse, pieces.
Well, and also, again, Todd and I are both Dwarven Forge fanatics. I love them, right? Stefano,
that's all Dwarven Forge behind me. So
yeah. Stefano and Nate and the team at Dwarven Forge, what a marvelous organization and magnificent art. It's just fantastic. But the truth is, it's not approachable for everyone. That's just correct. And for those who can afford such, and I even asked for it for Christmas. This, Mandy. I asked for Dwarven Forge for Christmas. But for those who cannot achieve that, Todd is giving wonderful suggestions for being able to have terrain and use terrain. And I love terrain, right? It was really the terrain itself was the inspiration for many of the things that are in the Gooey Cube packages, because I know that people can't always afford to have. I pretty much represent every character on my table with a miniature.
Mhm.
That miniature is as much the portrait as the portrait is. But
Right.
many, and I'll still use portraits at times, but many people can't afford that, right?
Right.
Monsters, same kind of thing. But if you have a monster handout, now you have the monster, even if you have a miniature that is represented, that is something else, right? So this is the idea, and I love it, Todd. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and sharing your ideas and showing your stuff. It's fabulous. Yes, Harry, you are right. That's exactly right, Harry.
And you can, and just like you could build like that again, like sometimes you do start with like a nugget of an idea, but if you do want to use terrain, it's good to maybe find what's in your budget first and then build around those epic set pieces that way versus planning everything out. I think, Todd, that's kind of what some of your process is, that um, you go with what you're building and then you make a story sometimes around
Yeah,
what you're creating.
mine is opposite. Mine is literally, I have a vague idea of what the story is going to be. And then as I lay out the tiles, the story starts to come more and more in focus. Oh, this room would be fantastic for this. Oh, this is an idea I hadn't even thought of before, because between these rooms is this room, and this is a perfect story link between them. And that's just how my brain works. But however your brain works is what's important. For some people, they need to write it all out. You know, it could be, it has to be long form, or it could be, you know, with an outline, whatever works best for them. One of the fantastic things that Gooey Cube does is they put in so much of the work for you. I'm just being completely honest. Okay. They put in so much of the work for you that almost any way that your brain works, you're going to be able to use the modules that they run, because you're going to have the pictures that you can share. You're going to have the backstory. You're going to have the synopsis, the short version of what you need in order to get going immediately. And you've got all that long text afterwards that tells you, you know, more in-depth detail. No matter how your brain works with the Gooey Cube modules, I just think you can't really fail with it. And Gooey Cube is the closest to module terrain as you can get without being actual terrain, in my honest opinion. That because you have so much artwork, and it's all original artwork. It's not AI artwork. I know you guys are very courteous about paying real artists in order to make the art and stuff. And I think that's fantastic. You support creative people because you're creative people, and that's it only makes sense. Yeah. So, but I just think the modules that you do are fantastic. As far as the way I do my train, yeah, I lay out the things that comes up, as I'm laying it out, unless like the picture in the background, that is, I'm trying to remember the name of it's a slave mines in World of Warcraft. That is literally a World of Warcraft dungeons that I replicated.
That's so cool. That is awesome.
So obviously that was already, I knew, and I was like, okay, how do I economize it so it physically fits on my table? But other than that, the layout was basically set. It's just, okay, I got to cut that room because I'm out of space.
Right.
But the majority of the time, I've got a vague idea, and then as I lay it out, I come up with more ideas as it goes along.
Yeah. I'm going to finish up with this chat that's happening, which is about GM Scott on YouTube. Has a channel about how you can repurpose like cardboard from cereal boxes and things like that, and build terrain that way. So and I think that's an epic way to create like elevation. An epic way. It is an epic thing because you're repurposing and recycling and using these materials that would go to waste otherwise. So check out GM Scott on YouTube. That's a recommendation from David. So and all the Amazon boxes, Pam says. So
no, there really is. You can recycle and help the environment, and also help your table. That's what we call the win-win. Plus enjoy your hobby, right? And also for people who are like, oh my gosh, I can't paint. I'm going to tell you the straight truth. I can't paint for anything. I can't draw. I'm not an artist in any way, shape, or form. I'm a word person. That's my thing. But I learned long ago a number of techniques, basically washing and dry brushing. And if you can learn washing and dry brushing, and then get your wife who has less, more steady fingers than you to paint an eyeball, you're good.
I can believe that. That is very true.
Well, Todd, thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us. I hope to have you back again.
Anytime. It's my pleasure. I love you guys. It's fantastic. And I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to just share terrain, so people can look at a different way to run their games. Theater of Mind is fantastic. I played most of my life. I played Theater of the Mind because I started in the 1980s where, Dice for Goblins, right? So So I'm fully on board with people playing that way too. It's not which way is better; it's which way works best for you, what you and your table loves. But because terrain can be so intense, I try and just have an onboard ramp where people realize it doesn't necessarily have to be as hard to get started as you think, and you can achieve some great results.
Indeed. Well, Todd, we'll let our friends go and us go and you go. Thank you for giving us this wonderful time today. And are we seeing you at GaryCon or Gen Con?
So I have a detour. I'm getting married on Wednesday.
What?
Hey, congratulations.
Hey. Yeah. She was sleeping and I put the ring on her finger and now.
And you used love potion number 9.
Right. And she failed her saving throw. And so a lot of things went my way, mostly with her being unconscious. And so it worked out great for me. No, we've been together for 9 years. And I promised her, I was like, okay, we're going to get married, blah, 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 blah. And it's in my heart, we've been married for like the last 7 of them. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's been exclusive the entire time, but
I mean, she puts up with your terrain collection. So, I mean, is there any greater love?
Correct. Yes, she cooks. Okay, so that's her hobby. She cooks. And my other hobby is I eat. So all of that really...
It's a total win.
Right. I had a double nat 20 when I rolled at advantage. I don't know how I got that lucky, to be honest with you. But actually, when we first met, she learned how to play D&D. And we played together for like a year or two. And then she went off to other hobbies or whatever. So she never minded. And I can leave my table set up for like weeks at a time sometimes, and she doesn't care in the living room because her hobby is anime. So she's in the bedroom watching, Solo Leveling or any of the, Naruto or any of those guys. I know who's into anime that knows that stuff. I have to because it's 3 feet from my head when I'm playing video games, because my computer's in the bedroom right next to the TV. But so her hobby doesn't contradict my hobby, and we're both. I'll ask you, Alphinius. I think the secret to long-term relationships is low maintenance and non-conflicting hobbies.
Yeah. And I think room, even if you have conflicting hobbies, not allow, right, letting people do what they want to do, right, and enjoy what they want to enjoy, and not try to make it. Because Ms. Goo tried D&D quite a number of times, and to her credit, but it was just not her thing, right?
No,
it was
that's fine, absolutely.
And but she has never minded this craziness, and in fact, in many ways, encourages the fun, right?
That's the success of the marriage right there. But unfortunately, that does mean I'm going to be a boat in the Bahamas when you guys are at GaryCon. That said, I want to reach out to you guys and get hotel information and stuff because I want to book next year's tickets so that I'm going. So I'd like to reach out to you guys because I know you guys have it down to an absolute science. And I just want to know what is the best hotel to stay in? When do I actually buy my tickets for GaryCon? Because I absolutely want to go next year. I shouldn't have any elections. That's what I do. I'm an IT director for an elections office. So I won't have anything that time of the year unless somebody snorts cocaine and there's a special election. That has happened. That's a true story. So some things are funny, not because they're made up, because they're true.
True.
So, and it was the guy, by the way, who went because he was going to clean up Washington, and then he got caught snorting cocaine. That again is true. You can't make this crap up. Okay? So, but barring that kind of thing, I plan on being there for next year, and I do apologize because I really, really, really wanted to be there this year. And just between a quick election that we had to pop up, and then Dina's like, nope, we need to get early. I want to get married before our 10th anniversary.
Aww.
I was like, okay, I can't.
I feel that this is more important. So yeah,
I think you should enjoy this time in the Bahamas are marvelous. And and Todd, also one of these years you got to come to Genghis Khan in Denver.
Yeah.
And if you come early, right, we'll hang out a little bit and do some fun things. But just put that on your list. Now at Gen Con, you are coming to Gen Con, yes?
No, I'm not. So this year I'm not gonna. I've booked up a whole bunch of stuff I've had between the fixing up my house and stuff. I've got some credit card stuff that I've got to pay off.
It's understandable.
Okay, so
but next year.
This is important.
And GaryCon.
This is important. Honestly, no, I think Stefan and Nate are going to be reaching out to you along with me and a couple of other folks And if Gen Con is agreeable,
Okay.
look at Mandy, she's passing out. She's freaking out about this.
Okay.
We are going to make the world record dungeon build at Gen Con, assuming Gen Con is agreeable to it and they want us to do it. And we got an idea of how we can do it and segment the build so that people don't lose their stuff.
Okay.
And then people will be able to go into this room and there'll be risers in there and they'll be able to look and we've got some friends who do drone footage. And so we'll put some drone footage of the build on the TV. I'm Nate and Stefan are in. So
I don't know. I don't think we should announce anything.
We're not announcing anything. This is our little friends here watching the stream. There is no announcement. It is not official. We are discussing this. But I think it would be, come on, Todd, tell the truth now. Imagine, I don't know, what do you think?
So you tell me to box up my stuff and bring it?
Yes, you got to box up some stuff and bring it. You don't have to box up all your stuff and bring it. You have to box up some of your stuff because we're going to section out the build. Okay. So one person is going to be responsible for this area, another person for that area, right? And Dwarven Forge be responsible for one area. And then what we do is probably about 5 of us or 6 of us would bring some semblance of our collections and make something that is just magnificently huge.
With that said, we are at 11:26.
Now you got me thinking. I got to figure out how to make this happen.
Todd, you got to ponder it. I mean, can you imagine? I see the room in my mind's eye. I see, the 4x8.
If you don't agree to this, we lose a linchpin and my stress goes down significantly.
I know. Morale drops to a 2.
Oh my gosh.
They got those 4x8 tables, right? And you put together, 20 of them or so? My goodness. It would be epic.
I'm shutting down the screen.
Talk about this. I'm assuming it's pure Dwarven Forge, no 3D printed.
Oh no, I'm sure Dwarven Forge would not care if we had pieces. Because honestly, I mean, there's some part of me that wants to reach out to Reaper or to even WizKids and ask if we could actually have sponsorship of this.
So anyway, it is 11:27. And
but ultimately, Dwarven Forge is the foundation, right? Because they are great friends of ours, and we love them dearly. We want to support them. All right, Kimber Mandy, look at her. She's got a vein popping out of her neck. I mean, her head.
So one last thing, Kimber Mandy, you have to admit, the world's largest terrain dungeon on the Gooey Cube channel that talks about creating epic scale adventures. That is the perfect time to announce that if somebody was going to make a non-announcement announcement.
No one.
Cameron Mandy, what's the chat saying about it? Because I bet there's some popularity for this in the chat. You can put up a couple of.
A lot of people are. I mean, obviously, Joe is like, do it. But there's a lot of people who are like, cut the mic and. And they're saying, shame on you for ignoring me. And it's time to shut down the stream. And
I'm sure there are people
they all know the level of stress this is going to cause me. And they are team Mandy StressCon. We
have friends. We have friends who are going to help.
Someone said the world record for Mandy's stress. And yes.
No, we're going to invite Guinness. There's no question. Guinness would love this, and I honestly think it's newsworthy. I think it could.
I think so too. Yeah, it would be incredible.
I think it could reach not just national news, but even international news. I think it's huge. I think it'd be spectacular. I think many people would pay, and Todd, we support a charity. We do some. Obviously, we need to pay our people who are monitoring. We want to pay the people who are monitoring. Sure. We need to make a little bit of revenue for us, which I think we can do, and then also give some money to a wonderful and worthy charity like Extra Life or something like that. Okay. I think it is spectacular. I think many people would come in just to view the dungeon. I think they would walk in, to walk around it, look at the drone footage, right? And we do a little. This is where Camera Mandy Stress comes in because she knows I want to do a production. I want to have the welcome, right? And to the dungeon of exponential evil, right?
Who's going to DM it in the 1 hour timeline? That's the question.
Everyone gets to come in and have one chance, right?
I want you to hire an auctioneer for the DM. Okay, someone who can. Room two. Who's in room 2? Kill the goblin. 3 hit points. 3 hit points. He's down. Do I have 4?
All
Okay.
right. Just to be clear, this is not an official announcement.
Yes, it is not an official announcement. It's not a promise. It's not anything, because there's lots of people.
I need you to reach out to me behind the scenes so we can get the details. So
I was planning on, after we cut this off, having all this stuff not talked about on the live stream, but Alphinius can't help himself from getting excited and stressing me out. So it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Technically, the Jungian subconsciousness is all shared anyway, so it's fine.
Anyway, I appreciate you so much, Todd. We're going to wrap up this.
Lawrence is texting me.
See, I do not want Lawrence involved with this at all.
Lawrence is like, do it.
We have too much stuff. We have so much stuff to deliver. So we don't have time to plan the world's largest dungeon.
Oh, it's a year and a half out, cameraman. You take a deep breath. We're going to be fine.
Oh my gosh. We're producing like 80 modules in the next year and a half. So Anyway, Todd.
Todd, thank you. You
Yes.
are magnificent. Thank you, chat, for putting up with this rant at the end and all of the other stuff. And I think we are going to do a contest to name the Temple of whatever evil. So since we can't do existential, so Kenzer and Company curses.
Okay. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Yes,
Thank you,
have a
Todd.
wonderful day.
May
Todd, and may all your adventures
be sticky.
Be
Todd.
sticky. I thought you was going to say it. I was like, oh, I stepped on Camera Mandy's toes.
Bye, friend.
Bye, everyone.